to our channel. My name is Anastasia Zueva. I'm an expert at the Scientific and Educational Center of the Scientific Publications Company. And for those who don't know, our company helps researchers from all over the world to publish in Scopus and Web of Science journals and also achieve different other academic achievements. And today we continue our interview series with researchers, and it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Bolaji Ogunwo. Our guest is PhD. He is an artist, a lecturer at the University of Lagos, researcher and in visual and creative arts, and also a life coach. Dr. Ogunwo, I'm really glad to meet you. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure. Thank you for hosting me. I'm sure we're going to have a great time here.
And first of all, I'd like to start from some impressive, as for me, thing that you compare three different roles. You're a researcher, you're an artist, and also you're a lecturer, a professor. And it's quite interesting because a lot of people, they can't see how these three different directions can cross. And that's why it's interesting for me to know how do you combine these different roles and how does they influence one on another in your everyday life?
I'm an artist. I'm a lecturer. I teach art as well. One part you also may need to know is that I'm also a clergy. I pastor a church. I have over 400 congregants in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm an uncle to some people. And how I've been able to do all of this is, number one, I prioritize. And this is very key for whoever is listening, a creative, a scientist, whoever. I prioritize what I need to do. And I have what I call the sense of urgency. Yeah, I may do it now. I just do what needs to be done. I'll give you an example. For example, on my WhatsApp page, I don't sleep with an unread message.
Okay.
Yeah. I found a young guy, two young, guys were talking and they said, "Oh, I have hundreds of messages unread." One said, "Oh, yours is good. I have over 300. I said, "No, that's not how to run. That's not how to manage. And that's not how to." So, of course, I have some of them I don't need to read because I know that this is just a group. But I ensure I tap it to clear my tab. I have emails, not one, two. I have email with Missouri State University where I was a visiting professor. I have an email with University of Lagos. I have a personal email. I ensure that I keep tab with all of those. Then I'm an artist. I paint every day. So when I wake up early, I dedicate after my morning devotion. I just say, okay, I get to work. If it's an hour or two, as I'm speaking now, I'm in the office. We're writing exams. I just have to. That's why I moved this meeting from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
Okay, yes, I understand.
And you saw that exactly 2 o'clock I was online. So it's about what you prioritize. Because if you want to make impact, you have to do so many things and ensure that one didn't get in the way of the others. But somehow also it's okay to note here that you must build that courage to watch certain things left undone. Yeah. There are things I'm supposed to do, but I'm not able to do, and which is also fine. And that is where the balance comes. You must know what should wait, know what should be done later, and know what should be done now. Because at times, later never arrives. So I have a sense of urgency to paint, sense of urgency to teach when it's necessary, sense of urgency to do what needs to be done. And I think that's how I got here.
It's an amazing approach. I think that I should only reach to this level that you reached already, and maybe it will be really useful for me and for our viewers to take something interesting from your lifestyle. But also, I'd like to ask you about your art path. I think that we can start from this point, and then we are going to move to another your life paths. Before the interview, and not only before the interview, of course, I looked through your works, and I was really impressed by your recognizable personal style. I understand that I'm not the first person to say this to you, of course, I understand, but still, the way you work with colors and with the textures, it's really readable, recognizable, and it's quite impressive how you can use these elements to share some emotions, some messages. And that's the question. Tell me, please, how did you found your personal style, and what can you recommend to other artists, scientists that work in this direction? Maybe you have some life hacks that they can use.
I paint what is called impasto. The word impasto is an Italian word that means application of colors in a very thick form, creating a very thick tactile quality. It's not a common style because you have to use a lot of paint. On a canvas, on my canvas, the quantity of paint there, if I was to paint with brush, that same paint on one canvas will reproduce about 10 canvases. Yeah, it's that much. And how I came about that, it's very interesting. I came from a very poor background. When I mean poor, it's a place lower than low. Times were hard. It was difficult. So back in the college, I didn't have so much paint to work with, but I had some friends who had paint. That there was this guy who would come into the studio, would just press his paint and just go around playing. And somehow we go there and scoop some of the paint. And as I'm scooping it, I mix it with my palette knife. And rather than using brush, I just apply it. And this is how my impasto, journey started. And I noticed that my work was different from others. So when the professor will be making assessment, there's something different, with my own approach. And that's how I stayed on that path. At some point too, I started using brush to paint, but I noticed that if I'm doing what everybody is not doing, I will stand out of the crowd. So this is very important for creatives, for researchers. You just have to, you are not paid at times for what you do. You are paid for your difference. Mm-hmm. You are paid for your difference. You are rewarded for your difference. We're having this meeting on Google Meet. 20 years ago, Google Meet wasn't here. Yeah, WhatsApp wasn't here. All of these, innovations are because people dare to say, hey, it's not doing something different, but doing it differently. Let's add value to what has been on ground. Why not? The question is not just why. So why not? Why not do it this way? Well, this is what Leonardo da Vinci painted Mona Lisa, I think 1505 with brush. Last Supper, 1497. We will sing great works of art. I know I can't compete with Leonardo da Vinci.
But everything is possible.
I can't do realism that level. So let me do what I can do. Let me do what will be different. So it's about difference for me. And this is very critical for whoever is trying to evolve. And at some point, it's important to note, I used to wonder, what will I do that will put me in a class? I used to think that they've done everything. They've taken up all the slots. There are artists, of course, there are other artists too doing impasto that I'm doing. But today, if I didn't sign my work, you will know this is Bolaji Ogunwo, because I've stayed there long enough to master that craft, to master that space, to master the texture, and I'm used to it. So that is it for me. I just wanted to do something that would take me out of the crowd, not for pride, but something different that will command a second look. And there's a way you do. In recent time now, we have hyper-realism. People who make paintings that you can't tell this is not photography. So why do I need to compete with the photography? If you want to do, realism, why not take a good picture, enlarge it, and frame it? So let me not attempt to paint to contend or contest with realism. Let me stay and do something unusual, do something different. And over the years, that has been my signature and has taken me to some global space. And I discovered that every room I walk into, if there are 30 paintings there, mine is always different. And that difference sets me apart. And that's the secret.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know what else to say. It's a quite inspirational speech, to be honest. And talking about your experience, as far as I know, you've been working as the artist nearly 20 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it's logically that during this part of time, maybe your approach to art somehow changed. Maybe you can share some your changes during this period.
For example, during COVID, I started painting in pixels. And that for me is another trajectory, and it's a bit magical, because if you look at it from my page, you may not understand it. If you see the painting physically, if you look at it, you may not see anything. Then if you switch on your phone camera and look at it from your phone camera, an image pops up. So people wonder, oh, how did you do this? Is there a science behind this? No, this is unusual. This is, like it's magical, and it is. It is. Now, this is a science. Images, pictures are measured in pixels. And the higher the pixels, the clearer the picture. 10 megapixels, 20 megapixels is clearer than. So what I do is to break the colors down into boxes. And we'll be using the palette knife to lay them and build them in boxes. And at the end of the day, they come together and form the image. So when you look at it from your phone camera, what the phone camera does is that the phone camera will reduce the pixel and take it far away, so it becomes clear. So imagine you looking at a painting and you can't figure out anything. And you open your phone camera and all of a sudden, the face of a woman pops up. So as I begin to walk, I asked myself, what else do I need to do? How can I upscale? How can I improve? Where is this all there is? No. So from time to time, in terms of my subject matters, in terms of my approach, now my impasto is thicker than what it used to be, because now I can afford more paint. Back then I had to just, manage what I had, but now I can afford more paint and I can pour the colors there. And you see, pouring the color is not just because I just want to pour colors. There's a science, there's a rationale, a reason behind that. Like I said, I came from a very poor background. Then my father told me, now listen to me. My father told me that his father told him that life is hard. But I said, my children will not tell their children what my father told me, his father told me. That I will see to it that I hand to my children a better life than the one I was handed. A higher version of life. And the only way I can do that, I'm not a tech engineer. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm an academic and I'm an artist. And I'll make sure that with my art, I paint with a difference to make the change I want in my life and the life of my children. So I paint this impasto because I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. If you know anything about Nigeria, Nigerians are great, in every space they find themselves. I'm sure you still have some Nigerian students in Ukraine schooling. I'm sure you must have come across some of them. We are rich. Nigeria is the most populous African country. As we speak now, should be over 300 million people. We are rich in human capital. We have oil. We are rich in oil. But somehow, poverty is still prevalent. You still have a larger number of Nigerians who are still poor. So I'm painting like this, that in 100, 200 years to come, when the history of Nigeria will be assessed at this time that I lived, they should be able to tell with my work that not everyone was poor. Yeah, that there's a level of affluence. Of course, my kind of work will not be commonplace, will not be too many. But they will see that if this artist could have painted like this when they said there was poverty, then that means there was a level of affluence. There was wealth. Perhaps it didn't just spread across. So I'm painting a better Nigeria, a richer Nigeria that I would like to see, or my children or my great-grandchildren that I will never meet. I should live a better life because I was there. So I'm creating a new generation of me through my art, through my projection, through my canvas, to say, hey, it may be hard, but I believe in a change. So I'm a future painter. My paintings are futuristic of not what I'm seeing, what I would like to see. A richer country, richer people, richer environment is not there presently now. I believe it will happen. So that's the change I'm making.
I'd like to say just one thing, that I feel that you put your soul in your works, and it's really inspiring. And your goals and your motivation, the thing that motivates you to keep working, are inspiring as well. And wow, I mentioned this before, yes, after your previous answer, but still, I remember this. Okay, we discussed your art level, and we move into your science levels, scientific path. At the beginning of the interview, I mentioned that you hold the PhD in art research, and that means that you defended a dissertation. And working on dissertation is a very, very important part of obtaining scientific degree. Yes, and during our work, our company often hears from our scientists that we have problems not with dissertation itself, with writing it, but with preparing some publications or maybe making academic translation, formatting, etc., etc. And that's why I think it will be really interesting for our viewers to hear about your experience. Maybe what was your topic? How did you decided to choose this topic? Maybe about some difficulties that you experienced.
Yeah, all right. So I said I schooled in a place called Delta State University, Abraka. That's where I did my PhD, and the title of the PhD was Spillage, a metaphor in painting. Delta State is renowned for oil. It's a place where they found oil. One of the locations where there's oil, the crude oil, as a resource, which is a major source of, income for us as Nigerians. So, but this environment too, you find prevalence of poverty. That too many poor people all around. And most times they always have issues with spillage. When the oil spills, affects farm produce, affects rivers, affects water, affects so many things around there. So for me as an artist, I was not just focusing. So I try to appropriate the word spillage into my art, into my paintings. Then I produced some body of work that speaks to works running beyond borders. Because one thing about spillage is that something going, beyond boundaries, spilling, from the word spill. So I produce works with, there's this chemical that they use for styrofoam. That is what I had to explore. I think few of them are on my page, using that, chemical. So this also now advancing my impasto now beyond palette knife now. So I had to mix those two chemicals together, pour them and allow them spill beyond the canvas. And I was using them to produce, different images. At some point, I will have to use a knife to carve some of them. So it's just beyond colors now, because I have to wait to see the reaction of how the chemicals will react on canvas. I did a lot of testing to see whether it will be more applicable on board or on fabric, and some other materials that I had to explore. Use acrylic, use oil to see which one is suitable. So for me, it was it was more of a scientific research to see beyond just the canvas and brush, what other materiality can I explore to advance this course, to speak to spillage, not just in petroleum or crude oil, to see how colors spill and how I can, the essence to see how my paintings can rupture borders, can go beyond borders, can go overboard. So at times I have some works framed, I still pour, the chemical, the styrofoam, to allow it spill, just to create something different. Like I said, my art is all about difference. And that's what I believe life is all about. And whatever innovations we have, AI, everything that we have currently, it's just about difference and how, to change or add value to the existing body of knowledge. So with this, with my research in my PhD, I've been able to show that, yes, the painting can go beyond the stretcher, can run across the border, and can be suspended. And that suspension can be possible with the use of the styrofoam. And I had professor who guided me, who said, okay, what if we do it this way? What if we do it this way? And I was able to produce a dissertation. The fact that dissertation I shared, I had a show in Chicago 2 months ago. They requested, a library bought a painting and they said they will be doing a reading that they would like to look at my PhD dissertation. And I shared with them, they sent me a picture of where they were doing the analysis, looking at the body of work, how, I've been able to explore. I've been able to add to the existing body of knowledge that paintings can go beyond the confines of the canvas and can be, can rupture border, can spill beyond to have, a different form of dynamics in two-dimensional work painting. Yeah, that's it.
Art, chemistry, and dissertation. Wow, it's such a combo, unexpected, but still, it's really interesting. Can you tell me, please, about your publicational experience? Because I found some of your articles and I saw different interesting topics, and that's why it's quite interesting for me. Did you have any difficulties during publishing? Because a lot of researchers in art-based research, they complain that it's really hard to follow the current requirements of different scientific journals because they are not adapted for art-based research. For example, if we talk about some structure of the article or maybe any other requirements, what can you say from your own experience? Maybe there was some difficulties in this area?
Yeah, at times you find some call for papers, and when you apply, when you send in your papers, at times their own requirements are not in tandem with the way we write. At times by the time they send their by the time they respond, they will give some comments that, oh, sorry, this cannot fly, this, they have their own canon of gauging what a publication should be, that somehow they are not resonance with how we write or what we write. So theirs is scientific, ours is artistic. How we supply our data. At times there's a way they want you to supply, they want to provide the data that there's no way we can do it that way. And so some of those publications we end up not, getting done. But there are some that will say, okay, we'll see how we can tweak and still get it done. Some at times, language barrier, that seldomly happen, but the major ones at times are just requirement and what needs to be done and how they want it done that may not the presentation. So they have guidelines for presentation, and we have how we present, for example, images, legends, how we label that is alien to their own structure. So it's a structure and systems challenge that at times we can't do, get on this platform, all because of their own requirement. At times when we have interdisciplinary, paper, too, at times so they say, okay, this is good. So at times we get it done. At times we have challenges, getting this paper across and getting it to fly. At times some will give you why this will not fly. Some will just say, hey, we regret to say we can't take this. And they won't even let you know why this is not, uh, eligible to be on the platform or on the publication. Not because it's not publishable, but because it did not meet their requirement as an art paper. So this happens, but if we will still have some that are admissible, and we're getting along with that. So it's either ways. Yeah.
And can you tell me, do you work in co-authorship? Do you like this kind of publishing? And if you had such experience, can you tell us about some maybe conditions when you worked together, for example, or maybe some difficulties, or maybe some life hacks in order to organize the effective work?
Okay, yeah. Art-based research most times are qualitative than quantitative. It's both, but most times we write, our research is based on qualitative, critical writing. So not more scientific, as it were. It's critical writing, creative writing, analysis of works, historical. Yeah. So it is, our research is more of historical, critical writing, appraisal of works. Yeah, of course, it will include biographies of artists, comparative analysis, and all of that. So we don't work from the lab. We don't do testing. We don't do all of that. We just evaluate data. We are big on dating. You remember when I was talking about Mona Lisa 1505. We're talking about the Last Supper 1497. Depending on what you are writing, if it's art history research, I'm not an art historian. I'm a painter. So the art historian, they are big on dating, big on appraisal, big on, their a literature review. Most times is premised on data and analysis. But for me, most of my research is into painting, appraisal of other artist paintings. Of course, I have to make reference to the past in a way. So if you ask me, the kind of research that I do, the kind of writings that I do, purely critical. I just, just juxtapose ideas. I write about most times emerging artists, because some of the masters here, they've written so much about them. So I'm focusing on evolving artists, the future masters, what they are doing, rather than joining, the queue on writing on master. So that's it for me. And I think I'm enjoying the content, and the few ones that I've done are worthwhile. So writings and paintings, other areas, textiles that are related, anything that has to do with colors work for me, because that I can resonate, I can read, meanings to them, and try to, add to the existing body of knowledge in that area. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the answer. And now we are going to our third block, third path of your life is teaching. Because I mentioned it before as well, that you teach painting at the University of Lagos. And as far as I can understand, art is not about specific techniques that you use during your activity, but also it's about context, about senses that you put into your creations. And that's why I'd like to ask you what's the most important for you to pass to your students?
Yeah, my assignment is to inspire my students. Yeah. When I get to class, I just give them nuggets on how to go about it. And let me say this way, I don't teach them what to think. I only teach them how to think, not what to think, not what to paint. So I allow them to explore. I allow them to do it their own way. I allow them to express themselves because you see, art is an expression of emotions, and emotions vary. In art, 1+1 does not equal 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So 1+1, if you say is 15, you are correct. If you say is 30, you are correct. So I just get to class and I say the assignment is 1+1. Give me your answers. So, for example, I say I want a painting on titled A Rainy Day. A rainy day. And I allow them to interpret what a rainy day means to them. What happens when it rains? What does the environment looks like? What are the futures? What comes with rain? So I want them to sit down and think and conceive an idea. And I tell you, at the end of the day, if there are 20, the 20 of them will come back with different results. If it's a mathematics class, if I write on the board 1+1, give me the answer. I know about 18 of them will tell me the answer is 2. So in this case, they have the liberty, and that is what creativity is all about. They have the liberty to give whatever answers they like. Yeah. And at the end of the day, when we come, we have a critique session. I look at how they have attempted the question, how they have dispensed the colors, the subject matter, the principles of design. I look at their proportion, look at how their spatial utility, how they have managed their canvas, their use of colors. And that will be the basis of, so I'll guide them to say, okay, this, what are you trying to do here? Because I also want to know why they did what they did. I say, okay, this is what I've done. I said, okay, it's good. But this is another possibility. This is what I think. So I don't impose my thinking on them. I lead them from the rear. I don't stay in their front. And that's the best form of leadership. I allow them make mistakes because you don't learn from success. You learn from failure. You learn from mistakes. So they make mistakes and I say, okay, next time you can do it this way. Next time you paste the background before the foreground because the background is behind the foreground. Next time this image should come before this image. This color should be brightened or be darker. No, I just give and they go again and do, and I'm monitoring the process. So it's about process. It's not about the destination. It's not about the finished work. The joy, the journey, the discovery, the learning, the mastery is in the process. So I'm big on process. At times, I walk into their studio, I see them at work. I like seeing them at work. And I said, okay, what are you trying to do here? At times they are confused, especially when they just, they are just starting to specialize. I said, okay, I'm trying to do this. It's okay, why not do this like this? And oftentimes I do what I call a demonstration class. Now they stand, I place a canvas there, and I say, this is how to get it done. This is how to mix your color. This is how to grade your colors. You don't need all the colors on the palette. You just need 3 colors, 1 major color. So I just, in quote, inspire them to work, and I allow them work and discover how to get it done. And I've noticed over time that, consistency and repetition brings about the mastery. They just keep doing it, stay the course, master it. And at some point, by the time they get to the final year, I don't say much, because at this point in time, they've been doing it over time. They understand the rudiment of colors, how the color wheel is applicable on the canvas, and they are good to go. So that's the process. So it's about process. That's the word.
You have such an interesting approach. You reminded me about the approach that my teachers used to use when I studied at the journalism faculty in Ukraine. They also said us that you should remember that we teach you not what to think, but how to think. And this thought sticks with me through all these years, and you somehow remembered me right now about this.
Wow.
And it's really quite exciting that there are still so many lecturers, professors, teachers who use such approach and give some space to students. It's really precious, I suppose. And also, talking about your teaching path, I can't forget about your experience in the United States. Because yes, in 2026, this year, you became a visiting professor at the Missouri State University, and you taught painting there. Can you tell me about your experience here? How does it differ from the university where you're currently working at? Maybe some aspects influenced your work now. Maybe you found some new approaches, for example.
I was a visiting professor at Missouri State University for the spring semester. I taught them drawing, and it's another dimension how things work. They know it's the Western world. They are well equipped. The studio facility is amazing. They have models. They have, lighting, easels. I enjoyed my stay there, and few things I learned from how, if the class was 2 p.m. By 2 p.m., all the students are already, they're seated. Over here at times you have to still battles with lateness and all of that. That's by the way. But over there too, I learned how, to curate models for the drawing class. Right in the studio there, they have equipped the place. They have shelves, and on those shelves there are different, objects there stacked there, that, shoes, just name them. Those are the things we set up to, for study. They have cubes in boxes. They have all manner of, objects that they use for drawing, and you can see that the environment was enabling, and the students are also enthusiastic and always willing to work. And at some point also, we have to do a critique of the works done. They supply materials, for the students to work. It is It's less of a struggle to work there as against here. So here, the students have to, you know, provide their materials at every point in time. At times, the environment compared there. Now this is not comparative analysis now, but just to say, oh, what changed from here and there? So it's about here and there. Here now, we don't have yet. I was still working on that. We don't have those kind of studio facilities that are enabling to work like they do there. And I think that also contributes to the output, how the students work. The certain things we have to grapple with. Here we still, there you can walk all through the night and there's light, there's power. Yeah. But here, you may have the plan to walk. You remember I told you about the sense of urgency that you have this work to get done, but certain things will just get in the way. So, but in terms of curriculum, theirs is a bit more elaborate. As too, the content is heavy. However, it's a different experience that opened me up to, that has influenced the way I teach now. When I go back, because that's the idea of the exchange program for me to learn the American culture, the American practice of the academic practice of America, and bring it back home here and incorporate it into the Nigerian system. So since I came back, if class is 1 o'clock, before 1 o'clock, everybody must be seated. So that we can start, everybody starts at the same time. And this, it will also help them when they get out of school. So effective time management is one big lesson I brought from the United States. Everything happens. 1 o'clock is 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock is 2 o'clock. Here, 1 o'clock. That's why you saw that I got on this platform. We said 2 o'clock by 2 o'clock, not 2:01, not 2:10. So if there's one thing, if there's one thing, major thing, administrative wise, here we still do physical meetings, departmental meetings, faculty meetings. In my 4.5 months in Missouri State University, we never had any physical meetings. Everything is done via mail. So everybody checks their mail. They say, okay, today this is what needs to be done. This is what needs to be done. Or we're having this event, be there. And everybody understands that. And number one, it saves time. Because once you see the mail, rather than here, we'll sit down and have about 3 hours meeting, physical meeting. So if dissemination of information over there is seamless, is on the go, you know that this is happening. Because the physical meetings we are having here is just dissemination of information. But this time now, we all have to come into the room to hear. But over there, you just know what you need to know so that you can do other things. I think that is why they will be able to do more. They are able to do more because rather than sitting in one place to get an information you can get on your mail and spend about 3 hours, and it's not just 3 hours for that meeting. You have to come from, whether your office or you come from home and sit. So there, if I don't have a class, I don't have to go to the office, except I have something to do. But here, at times, I don't have a class. I have to come for a meeting. And so they have their uniqueness But I think there's so much we can take from them to be more effective in time management and do more with that sense of urgency without having to come physically, especially in this era of technology that now I would have to travel to Ukraine, to Kiev, to have this meeting with you, to go to a podcast studio. And the same meeting,
It would be
and if
really
I'm there,
interesting if you decided to go to Kiev for.
and you know that if I'm in Kiev, is the same thing I'm saying that I'll be saying. You can hear me, I can hear you. You can see me, I can see you. You see what I'm saying now? So, but if it's here, you have to come all the way.
Yeah.
To sit in a room, everybody sits in a room, to get an information that can be disseminated via mail. But because internet issues, several issues,
of course,
that won't allow that happen, so that everybody will be on the same page at the same time and get certain things done. They prefer that we come into the room, sit down, and we can have,
a real conversation. Yes, it's easier to process the information. Yes. We've talked a lot about your art, research, your teaching experience, but there is still one, it's the last question for today, one question that we missed till now, and this question connects all your parts of your work in the culture of Nigeria, because you do a lot for representing the culture of your country. You do a lot to introduce it to the different countries. Yes, and that's why at the last part of our interview, what would you personally would want the world to know about Nigerian culture?
Nigerians are amazing. Nigerians are great people, great thinkers, go-getters. Somebody said, if you get into any country and you don't find Nigerians there, leave. Leave. Nigerians are resolute. We believe in ourselves. We believe you can get things done. Nigerians, some Nigerians like myself, I call myself a Spider-Man. Not in the context of the cartoon. You see, the spider wakes up in the morning and begins to weave the web. Whether I'm believing that there'll be a catch. Yeah. That's why you find Nigerians everywhere. They believe in possibilities. They are optimistic. They are daring. Nigerians can go to the moon. Yeah. Nigerians, if you put Nigerians to climb Mount Everest,
they will
be willing. They will go. So Nigerians, positive people, they have the energies, believe that there's nothing that can be done. So I'm proud to be a Nigerian, and like I told you, there is nothing that cannot be done. And that's Nigerians for you. And that's why you find us everywhere. When they say, oh, this place, go to Antarctica, Nigerians are there. There's a documentary on that. Go to China, Nigerians are there. Go to name them. Every part of the world, because we believe that wherever you get to, as long as there are human beings there, there will be something that you can do. I would believe that there are opportunities that if you don't find one, you can create one. And that's a big deal about Nigerians. We get into a space, we just apply ourselves and ensure that we add value. So in every part of the world, you'll find in every corporation, you'll find Nigerians adding value. Some are heading the units there, heading some places, are making things work. It's all about it. So despite also we have negatives about Nigerians, but I tell you, we are go-getters. We don't take no for an answer. We believe all things are possible. We get things done. We are great thinkers. We move mountains. So if you have mountains to move, then Nigerians will be there to get it done. So we are positive people. And we go all around the world and see how we can add value to whatever space. So if you get to Missouri State University today, you'll find in the list of their professors a name Bolaji Ogunwo, and they will tell you that when he was here, he added value to us. Thank you.
It was wow, very emotional speech, and now I will definitely know who can help me to move the mountains.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Just in case.
We do.
I'll text you.
I will.
So that's the end of our interview, Dr. Ogunwo. I really like to thank you so much for the interview. It was such a pleasure to meet you, to talk with you. We discussed a lot of different questions. It was really interesting, and I'm convinced that the experience that you shared with me and our viewers will be very inspiring and useful for them. So I wish you only success, inspiration, and new professional achievements.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you for having me. And we'll do this again and again very soon. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.